There's a woman who can sit across from you at dinner, ask 2 quiet questions, and understand your entire situation better than you do. She won't gush. She won't fill the silence just to make you comfortable. She'll simply see you clearly, completely, without flinching. Most people call that intimidating. They call it cold. They call her too much and not enough in the same breath. Psychology calls it something else entirely. Because what you're about to hear might completely change how you understand the rarest woman in the room and why the modern world keeps misreading her. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why the female INTJ struggles in modern relationships and why the struggle was never about her being broken. It was about the world not having the language for a mind like hers. The INTJ. Introverted, intuitive, thinking, judging. In men, this type is rare. In women, it's almost mythical. Female INTJs make up somewhere around 0.5% of all women. That means for every 200 women you meet, maybe 1 thinks the way she does. She's the strategist who mapped the outcome before the meeting started. The friend who tells you the truth you didn't want but needed. The woman who would rather be alone than perform warmth she doesn't feel. She isn't rare because she's difficult. She's rare because her wiring combines 2 things. The world rarely puts in the same person the deep inner focus of an introvert and the cool, decisive logic of a strategist. Carl Jung, who first mapped these mental patterns, described a mind led by intuition and refined by logic, a mind built to see systems, not just moments. But here's the problem. That same mind, placed in a world that expects women to be soft, agreeable, and endlessly accommodating, creates a specific kind of friction. We're going to walk through 7 reasons why. Let's start with the one almost everyone gets wrong. For the female INTJ, honesty isn't harshness. It's the highest form of respect she knows how to give. When she tells you the truth, she's assuming you're strong enough to handle it. Psychologists who study communication styles call this a task-oriented approach. She's trying to solve the problem with you, not manage your feelings around it. But the modern social world often rewards a different style. Warmth first, reassurance first, feelings smoothed over before anything real is said. So when she skips the cushioning and goes straight to what's true, people feel exposed. They call her blunt. They call her intense. What she was actually offering was the deepest respect she has, the belief that you can handle reality. Think about it. Flattery is easy. Comfortable lies are easy. Telling someone the truth, knowing it might cost you their approval, that takes a kind of care most people never risk giving. That's the surface. What's happening underneath is where it gets fascinating. Here's the deeper mechanism. The INTJ leads with logic, what psychology calls a thinking preference, making decisions through analysis rather than social harmony. In men, culture quietly expects this. In women, the same trait collides with centuries of social conditioning. Researchers who study gender and personality call it the double bind. When a woman is decisive, she's read as harsh. When she softens, she's read as weak. Psychologist Sandra Bem spent her career showing how rigidly society sorts traits into male and female boxes. The female INTJ simply doesn't fit the box she was handed. So she spends her life being told she's intimidating for doing exactly what a man would be praised for. Not because anything is wrong with her, but because the room was never built for her mind. Now here's where it gets more complicated. People assume the INTJ woman doesn't want closeness. The truth is more complex. She wants it more intensely than most, just not the version everyone's selling. Small talk drains her. Surface level connection feels like static. What she's built for is depth, the one conversation that goes 4 layers down and actually means something. Susan Cain, who studies introversion, found that people like this don't dislike connection, they dislike shallow connection. Their nervous systems are tuned for meaning, not volume. So in a dating world built on quick swipes, performed enthusiasm, and constant availability, she looks disinterested. She isn't. She's just waiting for something real enough to be worth her whole attention. The irony is painful. The very thing she wants most, one deep, honest, unshakable bond, is the hardest thing to find in a culture that treats connection like a numbers game. She's not playing hard to get. She's playing for keeps. And this next part, it's where most people misread her completely. The female INTJ is fiercely self-reliant. She solves her own problems, plans her own life, and rarely asks for help. And people around her feel that as a wall. Here's the misread. When she doesn't lean on you, a partner often hears, "I don't need you." But that's not what her independence means at all. Attachment researchers describe a style where a person self-soothes and stays autonomous not because they don't want love, but because depending on others once felt unsafe or simply inefficient. For the INTJ, needing help was something she learned to route around early. So the very self-sufficiency that makes her strong makes her hard to feel close to. The people who love her have to learn that her independence isn't a rejection of them. It's just how she survived before they arrived. And here's the part that changes everything. When she does let you in, when she asks you for something that's not weakness leaking through, that's trust. For her, letting you carry something is the most vulnerable thing she can do. If you're the kind of person who actually thinks about the women in your life this deeply, not just how they act, but why, and you're still here, that tells me something about you. It would mean a lot if you hit subscribe. We put out videos like this every week, real psychology, explained in a way that finally makes sense. Here's the part almost no one talks about. To move through a world that keeps flinching at her, the female INTJ learns to perform a softer version of herself. She smiles more than she means to. She softens her sentences. She translates her direct thoughts into gentler language so people don't recoil. Psychologists call this masking, and studies show it is genuinely exhausting. Every layer of translation costs her energy. And because she's so competent at it, no one notices the cost. They just see a capable woman and assume she's fine. This is the quiet loneliness of the female INTJ being surrounded by people who like the edited version, while the real her stays largely unseen. Not because she's hiding, because so few ever thought to look closer. And the cruelest part? The better she gets at masking, the more alone she feels. Every compliment on the polished version is a quiet reminder that they're not seeing the real one. But to understand where all of this comes from, we have to go back to the beginning. Almost every female INTJ has the same memory. Being a child who asked too many questions, who corrected the adults, who felt like the odd one in every room. Developmental psychology tells us identity forms in response to how the world reacts to us. And the world often reacts to a sharp, logical little girl with confusion or correction. She was called bossy for having a plan, weird for having deep interests, too serious for not laughing at things she didn't find funny. So she learned early that her natural self created friction. That's the origin of the wall. Not arrogance, not coldness. A childhood spent learning that the fastest way to be accepted was to be a little less herself. The relationship challenges of adulthood are just that old lesson, still running. Which brings us to the most important part of all. Here's what the world misses while it's busy calling her intimidating. When a female INTJ chooses you, it is one of the most deliberate, loyal decisions a human being can make. She doesn't fall into relationships by accident. She evaluates, she considers, she decides. So when she commits, it isn't infatuation, it's a conclusion. And she keeps her conclusions. The person who earns her trust gets something almost no one else will ever see. Her full, unmasked, unfiltered self. The strategist who protects the people she loves. The mind that will solve problems for you that you didn't even know you had. Her love isn't loud. It's structural. It shows up in what she builds, what she remembers, and what she quietly makes sure you never have to worry about. Ask anyone who's been truly loved by a woman like this. They don't describe fireworks. They describe safety. The feeling of having someone in your corner whose loyalty was never in question and never will be. So the next time you meet a woman who's a little too direct, a little too independent, a little too much for the room, look again. You're looking at someone who sees clearly in a world that rewards blur. Someone who offers truth as a form of love and depth as a form of loyalty. Someone who spent years being told she was cold by people who never once cracked the surface. She isn't broken. She was never broken. She's just built for a kind of depth the modern world forgot how to value. And the person who learns to read her language, the honesty, the distance, the fierce, quiet loyalty doesn't just date a rare woman. They get to know one of the most remarkable minds they'll ever meet. If you want to go deeper on the INTJ mind, I put together a video on why the world so often mistakes these people for villains. It's right here when you're ready.